Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Vox Calidus, and today I'll be explaining how to be a proper supervillain. Not some run-of-the-mill criminal or petty henchman, no. I mean a classic, take over the world, secret island lair, battle the heroes over a sprawling metropolis, doomsday device building supervillain. And who better to tell you about it than a retired villain like myself. What I plan to be a full series, I'll be explaining what a villain is, what our motivations are, how to deal with heroes, and everything else you will need in order to become one yourself. Let's get started, shall we? Firstly, we need to define what a villain is, for our purposes. A quick Google search will see that they're just a character in a story or a play that opposes a hero, or is important to the plot. None of that is particularly helpful here. What is a hero? How do you know if you're following a pre-written plot within your reality? Too many existential questions. We'll come up with something better, a better definition, for our purposes. In every story, there are two forces. There's a force of change, of revolution, a motion that shakes the world. And then there's a force that tries to keep things the same, to try and maintain the same order, the same balance, the same status quo. One is portrayed as evil, the other, good. Depending on the story, though, which one is which will swap sides. Let's take Star Wars, for example. From the original 3 movies, now known as episodes 4, 5, and 6, the heroes fight for the rebellion against the sinister Galactic Empire. The status quo is corrupt, and so they fight to change it. Freedom for all. Hope is their rallying cry as they go to war with a government that has spanned the galaxy for decades. In this arc, the heroes are the movers, the shakers, the instruments of change. However, if we move on to the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, we swap sides. Our heroes, Knights of the Jedi Order, fight for the Republic. The galaxy-spanning government is in danger from a deadly civil war as insurgents from within start to fight for their own freedoms. Sound familiar, friends? It's the same story, told from the perspective of the other side. Now I hear you. One is evil, the other, good. The actions of the heroes are justified both times, right? Every side has a story to tell. Let's take a look at the Republic. A system hailed as the golden age of the Star Wars galaxy, especially the millennial prior to the first film. Why then did the Separatists rebel? You might brush it off as, well, the Sith manipulated them, which is true. However, what did the Sith use to sway entire sectors to their side? Freedom. You see, the Republic was heavily biased towards the core worlds. The planets from the mid, and especially the outer rim, were often exploited for their natural resources. Many of the poorer planets stripped their worlds bare just to cart their harvest off and ship it towards the galaxy center. Much like the American colonies directly before their own Revolutionary War, they felt this was deeply unfair and clamored for freedom. All the Sith had to do was give them a little nudge, convince them that they were the heroes, fighting against a system that wanted to take everything from them. Just like the rebellion would do just a little while later. In the years of the Galactic Empire, it's true, their corrupt leadership stripped the resources from thousands of worlds, killed millions of people without remorse, and condemned billions of non-humans to slavery. An empire that the Sith, who thrive on hatred, could be proud of. And yet, men and women fought hard to protect the empire. Why? At last, everyone was equal. Every sector answered to their own Grand Moff, who would prioritize the needs of the empire as a whole, and of his or her own planets in specific, rather than a couple worlds near the core. Everyone takes care of themselves. The crime was down as Imperial warships patrolled the space above planets. Safety, security, peace. If you were a human in a decent position, life under the Empire wasn't too bad at all. All you had to give up was a little bit of freedom. Now I want to make something clear. The Sith are the villains of Star Wars, there's no doubt about it. They are cruel, they are evil, and the galaxy rejoices when they are defeated by the heroes. However, what they fight for changes whenever it is convenient to them. we've learned from this is that being a hero and being a villain are two sides of the same coin. One fights for change, the other for stability. Which side is which depends on your point of view. In comic books like Batman, Spider-Man, the heroes are always trying to protect the people and the system that is in place above them. You won't see Spider-Man trying to overthrow the government of New York City, no matter what J. Jonah Jameson tries to tell you to the contrary. The villains are the ones trying to take over the world, or at least the tri-state area, and the heroes are the ones who stop them. In the comic book world, and in your world, this remains fairly consistent. The outsiders, the characters trying to change the world structure, are the metaphorical bad guys. The villains. Taking that, we now have our definition of a villain for this series. For us, a villain is a force of change, someone dissatisfied with the way things are and wants to make them better, from their own point of view. Someone who wants to make the world a better place, specifically for themselves and those they care about. Does that sound like you? Well then, friend. Welcome to Villainy. But it seems we've run out of time. We have plenty that we've yet to cover, so much to share with any prospective new villains out there. We hope to see you again soon. Farewell.